welcome back to the channel. Today we're back again on GT Sport and we're back with a different type of video. Obviously some of the track selections of the last few days haven't really appealed to me, so I've not been doing as much of the racing. So what I wanted to do for today's video was something a little bit different. What I've done is a very quick track guide for both the FIA races that are on today. I say quick, we've gone in depth on the actual track guides, but the lap at Monza, for example, I didn't spend too long just trying to get a fast lap. I just wanted to get a very basic lap. We managed to get this morning down to a 47.6, but we're not using counter steer assist. I have noticed that every single person that I've seen, I think I checked about 6 of them, have been using that assist in the top 10. This car seems like a car that is probably going to gain you a lot of advantage using it, because the rear is really snap happy if you get on the power. So it is going to be a car that takes advantage from using counter steer assist. So obviously if you guys want to try and, feel free to use it if you want to. Obviously it's going to probably gain you a bit of time. I personally would rather do it without it and just try and work the car out without any assist, because obviously now with the FIA races, we all know in the live finals no one was allowed to use counter steer assist, so I find it pointless to practice with it in the FIA races. If you end up getting there and you can't use it, it's just a bit weird. But anyway, going through to this, we're going to start the track guide. I'm trying to do quite an in-depth track guide of both of these. First up, we're going to do obviously the Monza track guide driving the Lamborghini Hurricane. This is a single event race, so everyone will be in this car for this FIA race in the Nations Cup later today. I would have liked to get this video out a little bit earlier, but I only managed to just jump on this morning to do this Monza lap. So starting your lap, you need to look out, first thing you're going to look out for is a braking zone into turn 1, which is going to be around the 150 marker. You're going to see it approach in a minute. Obviously working your way through the gears now in the Lamborghini. You notice I'm just checking the go as I'm going down the straight. So look out for the 150. You're going to see it approach now. We brake before the 150 with this car, just fractionally before. This just enables you to get a better line through the corner, because you're going to be slower coming into the apex. So look now as we go down to second gear and we take quite an early steering input into this corner and attack the curb very aggressively. You've just got to be careful not to take too much curb. I pretty much pushed the limits there and got it perfect. And then on this part you want to then swing it back in and try and skim that orange part of the curb. If you hit that orange part a bit too hard, you will unsettle the car, but if you do it perfect, you'll pull out the corner without any rear sliding about like that, and we actually did that really well that time. So now working our way up into the second chicane, we're going to be looking for our next braking reference. I like to use the 150 board on the right hand side. You can brake just slightly after that. If you have a little look now, we don't have the same reference as we do on other games. The board above our head there is a little bit different, but it's pretty much the same reference point. You see dead on that yellow board is pretty much where you brake, but I like to use the 150 board because it's a little bit easier to see. And then braking down through the gears into second gear, and you can really attack this curb. You start very early on the steering input, get your left hand tyre well over that curb, and again I push the limits pretty much perfect there. And then again you're getting back over to the right hand side and you can attack this curb as well and take a little bit off that curb. You can see we were a bit aggressive, got up on that curb, but we managed to get the power down reasonably well, and you can see we're pulling away from the ghost again at that point. Now for our next braking reference, just past the 50 board on the left hand side, you see there starting to brake there, and you really want to keep the car very close to the apex on this corner. If you run wide, the camber will drag you off, so you really want to stay nice and tight, and then the camber will keep you nice and tight and on this apex, so you can actually get on the power really early. We tried to get really early on the power. We nearly understeered wide, but we got away with it, used all the track on the left hand side, and then brake just before the 50 board there. You're going to see that board there on the left. We're starting to brake now. That's just short of the board, and then we're going to try and take a lot of this curb off on the right hand side, because you can attack this second part of the Lesmo. You can get up on that curb, and then it enables you to get on the power really early. So we're up on the curb, on the power really early. Use all the track width on the left hand side. If you get it perfect, just be careful to not push too far wide there. It can really slow you down. So we were obviously pushing the limits a bit there, and it's probably a bit safer to not take that as much off the track as that. Now we're going to go into the next braking zone. You're going to use that big board above your head there, slight braking reference. I brake just over that there, just past that point there, just before the 100 board on the right hand side, and then down into third gear and attack the first part of the curb. You're going to see there the 50 board on your right hand side is pretty much your turning in point where you're going to start turning in, and you can see you want to try and get your left hand tyre to just get over close as you can to them yellow and black the ramps on the left hand side, and then early on the power, and just be careful you don't put too much power in at this point. The car will just start sliding through these corners if you're too aggressive. Use some of the curb on the left hand side, upshift into fourth gear, and then you're going to attack your way up this straight. We ran a little bit wide, probably lost a little bit of acceleration on that curve on the right hand side, but it was reasonably okay. And then we're going to come to our next braking reference, which is just past 100 board on the left hand side. So we're going to see it approach in a minute. You see it approaching now. There's a 100 board, and we're braking, just starting to brake at this point now, which is just past that. I'm going to go down to 4th gear and then down to 3rd gear. You really want to get the car as close to that curb on the right hand side as possible. This is where it's really important. If you run wide, you start losing speed. You want to take the shortest route possible through this corner and then get on the power really early. You can see we're slamming on that power very early and then use all the track width on the exit. You can see we actually go a little bit over the the track width. We maybe lost a fraction there, but we did carry some very strong speed through the exit of that corner, and we work our way to the finishing line. It's a 1 minute 47.6. Not an amazing lap. I think we've got potential to get that down to a 0.3 or 2, but I think to get that into the 46s like a lot of the other drivers are doing, it'd be hard without counter steer assist. So for this lap, this is doing it a bit different. That was done in qualifying. This lap is with all the settings that are on in the race on. So we've got fuel. We're actually on the 4th lap on the tyres after this. So that was lap 3 at 1 minute 12.3, and this is our start of our lap 4. So the tyres pretty worn at this stage. Braking just in between the boards there. You can see the braking starts there between 100 and the 50 board, probably nearer to the 100 board. Down into 2nd gear. And we're obviously in the GR4 class, obviously, for this race now, and attacking this curb on the left hand side. You really want to get on the power as early as possible coming from that corner, because getting on the power early there is going to give you such an advantage going all the way up this hill now, and that's why it's so important to get a really strong exit from that corner, because you're working your way uphill, which is going to slow you down anyway, and then it's such a long straight, so you really got to work on that exit of that corner. And obviously, the tyres are not in the best condition at this stage. This was lap 4. Fuel's about a quarter of a tank. We're going to brake just about there, in between where that tarmac on the left hand side is. I use that as a braking reference. It's a perfect reference for your braking spot. Down into 3rd gear, and then try and keep the car nice and tight to this curb on the right hand side. You see I'm staying very close to that. I've got full power back on, and we're going to use as much of the track as you want. You can go a little bit over the curb if you need be, like I did there, working your way into 4th gear, and then we're coming up to the next corner. So you're going to see I go down on the brake balance to 1 rather than 2, just creates a little bit more stable rear end, and we're going to slowly scrub the speed up. So we're going to trail brake all the way through the corner. You can see I've not got maximum braking force in, and then try and get your right hand tyre to be on that white line and pretty much use the width of the track there. Don't go too far wide though, because it will the camber will just drag you off. Now you really need to get the power as early as you physically can, so that you carry as much speed up this section now, because in the GR4 cars you do not brake through this section. It's flat out, so you don't want to be losing any speed at all. You want to get your right hand tyre as close to this wall on entry point as possible. If you get it perfect like there, you don't need to lift, and you can keep your foot planted to the floor and carry all the speed through these corners. Now for this first corner, you want to get your car over to the right hand side, use as much of that width of the track as you can to shorten the angle into this really fast left hander. You do not need to lift for this left hander. It is a flat out corner if you get it right, but you've got to be careful. You've got to take an early entry point, turn in before you think you would, because look at the camber. That camber will visually, you can see it, and it will drag you off to the right. Get it right like we have done there, and you do not need to lift. And then coming into the next corner, I use the curb on the right hand side as my turning in point. That's my reference to say you need to be turning in there, but be careful not to be too far over on the right when you do that, as your tyre hits it and you can stabilize the car. Now we're going to go into the downhill section. So what I do for this section, we're going to change the brake bias to -3 or 2. I think 2 for this go, and that creates a more stable car when braking on downhills. It's just going to stop that rear stepping out. So watch what we do. We go to -2. That creates a more stable car, and then we're going to attack this corner down here. Now you don't need to do much lifting here. It's just a bit, pretty much trail braking really gently all the way down this hill, down into 3rd gear, and try and get the car as close to that wall as possible. You want to make sure most of your speed is scrubbed off before you're coming into this point now, and you're going to turn in very early into this corner. Because the way the corner is, you can really take a bit of that corner off. See how we did it there, and then slamming on the power again in 3rd gear and working your way into the next downhill braking zone. And obviously you're going to want to keep your brake bias all on -2 at this point. This is where we're going to start braking, and we're going to trail brake. You really need to trail brake all the way through this corner. Just watch the trail braking. We're not slamming on too much there, and then now we're going to start trail braking all the way into this corner now, trying to keep that front end as close to that wall as possible, and then getting on the power as early as we can. And now we're going to work our way downhill. So what we'll do at this point, at some point on the straight, is we're going to change our brake bias back to 2 or 1. Obviously you don't want minus brake balance going into these next corners, so we'll move that in a second. You can see there we've gone back up to 2, and that's to help us get more turning on the braking. So working our way down the hill, we're on a very good lap, as you can see there, considering this is, you know, with tyre wear on and everything. This is the settings that are in the race tonight. Using the 150 as a reference point, that is a perfect braking point for pretty much any car that you're in. So using that as your reference, be careful not to brake too late, because this corner you're carrying, you know, 165 miles per hour. You brake too late and you'll just wander off into the gravel overhead. Try and keep the cars close to that first apex as possible, and then be very patient before putting full throttle back on. You know, we did it quite early there. If you do it too early, you'll just run wide. So we get it pretty much perfect there. Use a little bit of the curb on the left hand side there on the exit, and then working our way into the final corner where we're going to brake just past 100, pretty much there. You know, this is now you want to brake in a straight line and try and widen. It's a 90 degrees left hand corner, so you want to widen your entry point to get a maximum exit speed. So you can see they're quite late before we turn in, skimming the apex and then being very patient before we put full power back down. And you can see a little bit of movement on the rear, but we managed to cope with that reasonably well. And you work your way over the line for a really respectable 2 minutes 12.4 for the Ferrari in race conditions, with fuel wear on, you know, fuel on and tyre wear. So I think we could actually get that into the 2 minutes 10 in a qualifying session. I was really happy with that lap, considering the tyres were not in the best condition. That was like lap 4 out of you know, with times of 7 tyre wear I think it is on. So the tyres were by far not in their best condition. But anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed that little track guide for tonight's FIA events. I wanted to get this out before the FIA races take place, just to help anyone out that's struggling on these tracks. Hopefully this guide has helped you out. You know, if I've done all my laps without counter steer assist. You know, a lot of you guys will probably use them because it will help you out at Monza. And you know, it is a track it's going to help out with, especially in that Lamborghini. It seems, I've seen the way the cars are handling when you watch the replays in the top 10. You can visually see that the help it's given. So I didn't want to do it, and I may do the FIA Nations race as well tonight. I might try and get both races done. It depends what time it is by the time I've done the manufacturer race, and whether I've got enough time just to jump on for a quick bit of practice. That Lamborghini is going to be a difficult car to drive without the counter steer assist, but I will do it without it. I'll try and do it just like I did with the Ferrari, just the ABS on. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. We're going to be back with more GT Sport races very soon. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already subscribed, and click that notification button so you don't miss any future videos. We upload every single day on GT Sport, and obviously the odd Project Cars and a set of Corsa video. Thanks again for watching everyone.